Hello everyone, welcome along to a special York preview for day 2 of the Ebor Festival, which is a significant World Pool Day. We're looking forward to 7 races, the first of which, with Graham Cunningham and John Blance alongside, is the Lahn Stakes, which is run for juvenile fillies of a very high level indeed. It's a group race, 1,200 metres. We'll sort them out, and these are the runners in 2024. Liavani, 2 from 2 so far. Celandine, she's having a good season. So is Heaven's Gate. She's already been a good money spinner. Tales of the Heart, Time for Sandals, Unspoken Love under Danny Tutto. Let's get the thoughts of Graham Cunningham on Liavani, who's 2 from 2 so far. This was the debut, went on and won at Royal Ascot thereafter. She's been the subject of an excellent piece of work apparently going into this, so there's a bit of excitement.
That's interesting. Yeah, there is excitement, and no wonder. She does have a penalty for her 22-1 win in the Queen Mary. We pick her up at Nottingham, first time out, 5 furlongs. Both the runs have been over that distance. Interesting quote from the trainer, Carl Burke. She has a fantastic mind, John. That can't do any harm.
No, it can't do any harm at all, and obviously it was well evidenced at Royal Ascot after this. My slight concern about this race as a whole is that the best 3 horses in the race in terms of figures and with the historic figures to win this race are all go-forward types with even speed at 5 furlongs, like Liavani. So will they all cut each other's throats? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, that's going to be a bit of a question. Plenty of experiences before in Heaven's Gate so far. She's in the mould of so many for the same stable. We're going to look at a couple of bits of form of hers, John, going back to Newmarket for the first of them.
Yes, this is a good race. Mountain Breeze and Arabian Dust are not necessarily tip-top performers, but they're certainly around about the Group 2 level. And she's run a good race here, Heaven's Gate, on the speed and quite a well-run race. Arabian Dusk has won this nicely. She then went on to see the piece of form from Island Graham, which is a race she really should have won, which she did. She's another go-forward type. I think she'd be there or thereabouts, but will she get pestered out in front?
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's in the top 3 Ballydoyle juvenile fillies, but that's not to say she can't run well.
They're unbelievable this year.
She went to Naas on a pretty dreary, gloomy day in a huge field in a conditions race. She was sent off at 4 to 6, and she did the job in willing fashion. So she is a filly with plenty of experience, a pretty smart level of form. There's a really good one in the race. She might have to play second or third fiddle, but her form as it stands gives her definite place potential.
Yeah, I think she's very solid indeed. I'd run pretty hard on a Dreek afternoon to win the prize, but she did that day. I wouldn't have any problems. You're quite right, Graham, to mention just how strong the Ballydoyle juveniles are, so perhaps that's a statement that she's the one that comes here. You're 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I'm looking for a filly who might just add a bit of value to the Quinella and possibly even win markets here. It's number 5, Miss Lamai, stablemate of Liavani, behind Liavani in the Queen Mary at Royal Ascot, but stayed on really well and has gone on to a valuable Irish success since. I think she can run well, especially if the pace is strong. 4, Heaven's Gate looks place banker. 1, Liavani, small penalty, slightly off-putting, and 2, Betty Clover, who can pick up some my money. 5, 4, 1, 2 for me in the lather, John.
Yeah, this is a tricky renewal, as you might see. Myself and Graham have come to some different conclusions here. Celandine, I thought, ran a very good race on probably the wrong part of the track in the Molecombe. Again, she flashed a lot of speed that day. 6 furlongs here is a bit of a question mark, but if she just settles off that speed, I think she's got a good chance. Time for Sandals is interesting. If they go a really hard gallop and she's off the back of the speed, the run at Kempton wasn't knockout form, but it was pretty good, and the way she ran the race was very impressive. And then she ran a good race in the super sprint from off the speed. 6 furlongs will suit her. If there's a pace burn up, she's good each way bet. Liavani, for all the reasons that Graham's covered, and Heaven's Gate goes in there as well, but she's no bedtime story.
She might not be, or Fairy Godmother either. I think there's a few of them that are pretty good, but I'm going to take the idea that she's good enough to win the lather. We'll see. Heaven's Gate it is for me in the first. Race 2, York on Thursday, is the big sales race, the Goffs Premier Yearling Race. 1,200 metres again for the juveniles, 22 declared runners. And we will see at the end of the 1,200 metres who's come out on top for this hugely valuable race. Arizona Blaze is a fascinating runner from Ireland. You go down to the likes of An Outlaw's Grace for Ryan Moore and Richard Hannon. They've got previous in this race. Cracking Man, Diligently. Fear and Fast, High on Hope. That's page 1. Over the page, and you're going to see more, including our Mighty Mo, Sensorium. Territorial Night's going to be on a few people's lists, I'm sure. Ghost Run's there, more Lamb is going to be popular. Up the ante is the Mount of Dylan Hogan. Right, let's have a look at some recent form, some pretty good form, Graham, it's fair to say, and that would be the Phoenix Stakes of a week and a half ago. Whistle Jacket in second has come out and won a Group 1 race. Arizona Blaze in third. He's got to have a big chance, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got the experience, he's got the rating. I think he's got the run style as well to run extremely well here. Have a look at the Phoenix Stakes. Babouche is a worthy winner, very highly regarded. Whistle Jacket has already franked the form. It was a strongly run race, John. There were 3 sub-11-second furlongs in the middle of this contest. In short, Arizona Blaze has the speed and the class, even with a penalty, to be a big contender here.
Yeah, he does. The conditions of this race mean that he's not particularly badly off with some quite inferior horses here, and he's got stall 4 as well. He's matched motors there with Whistle Jacket for quite a long time, which is no mean feat at all. The Omni Matisse form is very good as well. The striking Viking was involved there. He'd win this with a leg in the air, as my Australian colleagues would have said. Yeah, Arizona Blaze, stall 4, great chance.
And bar the odd shock, form horses tend to really come to the fore in this race, despite the big field.
OK, let's have a look at a filly, and actually a piece of form we've already assessed through race 1 today. John, this is More Lamb's opportunity to be put in the spotlight. Of course, Heaven's Gate finished third. We've talked about her and her run, potentially going into, or how good she'll be going into race 1. More Lamb finished 5th this day in the Duchess of Cambridge.
Yeah, and there's quite a lot of speed engaged in this race. Some of it's quite cheap speed as well, with horses that aren't really rated to actually win the race. More Lamb does have a tendency to be a bit slowly away. Fly jumped last time out in France, which wasn't ideal at all, but on this form has got to be there or thereabouts. Gate 9 pretty good as well.
She gets plenty of weight from Arizona Blaze. My slight question is she a proper 6 furlong filly? I think her very best performances thus far have been at 5.
Should we have a look, Graham, at an Outlaw's Grace, who might be a big price, by the way, come Thursday. I fully accept that, but there's always been a buzz about this horse ever since he was well back for the debut, and it is more the Hannon factor. What is it, 5 from the last 8 in this hugely competitive race have gone to the Hannons, including under Ryan Moore, who rides this fella with a certain Mum's Tipple.
And we're talking about trips, and this fella's coming down in trip from 1,400 to 1,200, John, and I think you'd agree that it might well suit him, because he made quite a bold effort on the outside, couldn't go on with it inside the last.
And also was quite slowly away, which is unlike him, and he's tried to get into the race, and it was quite a strongly run race, this one at Goodwood. So, yeah, if he gets away well, he's going to be there or thereabouts as well.
How big a player, John, do you think Territorial Knight off the back of that Pontefract win can be?
Showed good speed, and these two have gone absolutely miles clear of the rest. It's not a particularly strong race in behind. Again, where will this horse position up in the run? If he ends up trying to go too quick with some higher quality horses, that might not be ideal, but if he just sits off the pace, he might go OK.
And his trainer Kevin Ryan has won this race and has had a few horses go well at big prices. So this fella, I think, comes into the mix with potential for improvement, as does his stablemate Against the Wind. There will be 1 or 2 horses hit the board at biggish prices here. He could be one of them.
Yeah, I like him. Who's in your 1, 2, 3, 4 then, Greg?
I think we agree on the top one here. Number 1, Arizona Blaze has the class and the speed to be a big player here, even with a penalty. Back up from 16, Territorial Knight, 2, Against the Wind, and 4, An Outlaw's Grace.
Yeah, the wheat can be sorted from the chaff often quite quickly in this race. Yeah. And Arizona Blaze has got some extremely good form. Not absolutely top class, but not too far away. So from a good draw as well, stall 4 should go very well. And Outlaw's Grace in there for second, hopefully gets a better start. More Land to stay on in the latter stages, and Territorial Knight in there as well. So 1-4-2016.
Just quickly, how many lengths did Mum's Tipple win it by 5 years ago?
About 7, and then Connections
11.
turned down apparently 3 million. They've been regretting it ever since, I think.
Jumped horses don't win that far, let alone 1,200 metre steer-rods. On that basis, I'm going to go for An Outlaw's Grace to continue the excellent record of Richard Hannon in this race. Best of luck, whatever you're going for. Race 3 is the first race for the older horses on the day. It's the Clipper Handicap, a heritage handicap, 1,600 metres, fiercely competitive. It should be as well. Big prize money, great competition. Horse has been targeted for this, no doubt, from a long way out. Dear my friends there, Holloway Boys there, Al Najam's there, who's very interesting indeed. Theory of Everything won the other day. New image will be on plenty of people's lists under Oisin Murphy. Over the page, and we'll find a few more runners as well. There are 19 of them. Mr. King, Thunder Run, Stone Soldier, down to Cruyff Turn and Austrian Theory. Let's have a very quick word on this Al Najam, Graham, who is going to be popular, and many people are going to think this is a group horse and a handicap.
And I think he might be. He was gelded over the winter, came back at Newcastle, very well backed, bolted up, then went to Ascot on King George Day, really well backed again. Had to wait a little while for a gap. Once it came, he settled things very neatly in a steadily run race. It was my impression, John, that day that with a true gallop, he would have won by a wide margin. And although he's the obvious one, I think whatever beats him here will be winning.
Came home at 110% of average speed at Ascot last time out, which is virtually unheard of for the straight track at Ascot. So, and he ran up one or two blind alleys as well when pulling really hard. I mean, he's going to take some stopping in a stronger race, but he's got gate 17, which is historically not great in this race.
He also has an entry for the QE2 Group 1 mile at Ascot in October, and William Haggis tends not to waste those fancy entries.
We'll find out whether he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's up against the likes of Holloway Boy, who's on top, John, of those who come from the Golden Mile at Goodwood.
Well, this is a collector's item, this Golden Mile. There's high draws, everything. A complete contradiction of history. Holloway Boy, though, was interesting because he was pretty prominent the whole way. Yes, he was wide in the run, but that wasn't necessarily a problem if you look at some of the other horses in this race that got involved. But he was close to a strong gallop, and he stuck around well as the closers were beginning to get going. He ran a really good race in the Royal Hunt Cup at Ascot 3 starts ago. Good effort at Sandown as well. Gate 1, I think he's going to go very well, Graham.
Agreed. Third big handicap, excellent run on run. In the back was Sheer. Bo Pedro did what Bo Pedro does. He sticks on late on the outside to pick up some minor. Blue For You got a choppy run, but I think Holloway Boy has been running so well that he has to be on the shortlist.
We can have a look back at some more recent form. Trinidad doesn't miss too many of these kind of races. A few of these come to the fore from this form, Graham.
Yeah, let's have a close look at this and keep a close eye on the horse in the Clipper colours, the grey colours, Thunder Run, a 3-year-old. Look at the way he travels here, John. He doesn't quite see it out having raced freely. James McHenry, the grey, is on the front end. La Trinidad in the red colours comes charging late. Not much between this trio at the weights, but of the three, and they all have plus points, he caught my eye, that Thunder Run. I think he's the type of horse who's got a bit more to give yet. Yeah,
he did pull quite hard. Thirsk, for those who don't know, is quite a funny track, long straight, but a very tight turn, and they slowed things down, turned into a bit of a sprint. Those two were a problem throughout. La Trinidad, those come from a different part of North Yorkshire, stayed on really strongly. He's been 9th in this race twice, La Trinidad. Yes, that's quite the stat. But he's also run a good race in a mile contest in another part of the meeting. Gate 16 is a bit tricky. He's not on my numbers, La Trinidad, but it would be no surprise to see him run well.
We can have a look at some York form from the middle of June. It involves a few of them. The best of the finishers who go forward for this, John, is New Image, who has since taken the form to a better level recently, and I imagine it's going to have plenty of supporters come Thursday.
Yeah, he sneaks into my numbers, definitely. This was a good run behind dear old Northern Express at York. No, sorry, this is Tolstoy. Sorry,
Tolstoy,
not Northern Express at Ascot, yeah. Tolstoy was still there. He's a much improved horse going very well. Then he was second behind dear old Northern Express at Ascot, and then he ran in the Shergar Cup where he won despite the way the race went, and he was kind of being harried across the track, so he's clearly in very good form, Graham.
He's thriving, no question about it. He does have a £6 penalty for a short head win at Ascot, but that race didn't really fall his way, and the stable, David O'Mara, could hardly be in better form, and they tend to excel in these big mile handicaps.
Yeah, particularly this kind of meeting. In fact, won it a couple of years ago with Blue For You, who's also in the race. Groif Turner, previous winner, is in the race. There's some previous here. Who's in the 1, 2, 3, 4?
Nick, you asked the question of whether El Najm is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Arr, he's a wolf, I think. I think he's well ahead of this mark, and I think he can win despite the high draw. Back up from Metal Merchant, an old favourite of mine who just keeps running really well. 2 Holloway Boy likewise, and 15 Thunder Run, Shades New Image for 4th.
Love that. John?
There's always a big field in this race, and only 3 of the last 10 winners have won from a big draw. Now, El Najm might be able to loop the field 5 wide and still beat them from gate 17. I totally accept that might happen. But Holloway Boy has been in tremendous form. He's a former Chesham Stakes winner on debut, of course. He's got stall 1. He's going to get the absolutely perfect run round here. So I've just got him to beat El Najm, but I might be wrong. Blue For You won this race 2 years ago from a good draw, was miles behind from a bad draw last year, gets a good draw again. He's in decent form. A New Image in there for 4th. It's a terrific race, though.
It is a terrific race, and it was worth it for Graham's. That changed the fairy tale a little bit, that, wouldn't it?
A lupine impression.
It's New Image for me, so in a really competitive race. Race 3 at York on Thursday. Race 4 on this big World Pool Day at York, the Knowsmire for the Ebor Festival Day 2. Well, it is the feature race, which is the Yorkshire Oaks. It's the Group 1 on the day for the fillies and for the mares, 2,400 metres. A couple of the winners in the last decade alone went on to win the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe later in their career. So plenty to live up to. Only some very good filly and mares can apply for this. We don't have Blue Stocking. We learnt of her presence instead on the sponsors race, Jumpmont International on day 1. That might open it up for a few of these. Emily up, John, where are we with her? We'll find out a little bit more on Thursday. Mistral Star deserves a crack at this. Queen of the Prize getting better. See Theme, who won at the meeting last year. Content, Lava Stream, Port Fairy. You Got To Me. They are your runners for the Yorkshire Oaks this year. Let's have a look at a couple of them. Actually, it would have involved Blue Stocking as well, Graham, but she goes for a different race instead. This was Ireland. This was over shorter at the back end of June. Emily Upjohn just caught by Blue Stocking and Content further back in third.
Yeah, Blue Stocking's defection to Wednesday's International gives this race a very different look. Here comes Emily Upjohn. She's going to win. And then she isn't, because here comes Blue Stocking to charge her down late. Content gets a slightly choppy run, but stays on late. I think she's getting better with experience, more of her at a minute. But Emily followed this with a lacklustre run from a wide gate at Goodwood, and I don't know exactly where we are with Emily these days, John.
Yeah, I mean, that's a standout piece of form in this race, if she can reproduce it, but it's a bit of an if. And yeah, she was maybe slightly in the wrong part of the track at Goodwood, but still it didn't really account for the run at all, and she should have done better. It was a bad run as well in the Coronation Cup when she was strongly fancied. She's a difficult horse to warm to at the moment.
She's after Goodwood. That's now 6 defeats in a row, a couple of them at favourites. Last time was inexplicably bad, wasn't it?
She's inherently a bit better than practically all of these, but you have to ask the question at this point, how hard is she really trying when things get tough? If she wins, I would not be shocked at all. But as a betting proposition, she comes with a bit of a wealth warning these days.
Okay. She has a stablemate in there called Queen of the Prides, John, and she's getting better. She's bred in the purple for the connections by the late, great Roaring Lion, who won the Jumpmont International at this meeting, out of Simple Verse, who won the Ledger, and she is on the improve.
She certainly is, and what I like about her is she's won 2 pretty good races, not outstanding races, but pretty good races at Haydock, and she's won them in different ways as well. One was a little bit of a sit sprint, the other was a real thorough galloping contest here that we're seeing from last time out. She's the favourite at the moment in the markets in the UK. I think, wouldn't necessarily say she deserves to be there, but she deserves to be there or thereabouts, Graham, and she's definitely on the way up.
Yeah, she's bred to be a Group 1 filly by Roaring Lion out of Simple Verse, and a line through the third horse there, Lady Boba, tells us very strongly that she is on the improve.
Yes, she is. 3-year-olds. We've seen Content. We can see her again beaten at the Curragh, this time by the Rafe Beckett's trained You Got To Me, who is the stable representative now. This was the Irish Oaks.
This is an intriguing rematch because You Got To Me got the perfect run at the perfect time, and looking behind her, an unusual one. Ryan Moore doesn't make many mistakes. He got caught in pretty heavy traffic here. It's my contention, John, that would have been precious little between this pair had Content got a run at the right time. I think Content might just reverse the form. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a big field, a strong gallop on here. It has suited You Got To Me, who ran a very different race to that which she ran in the Ribblesdale, where she was a tear away and went too fast, but still stuck on very well. Content, yeah, maybe it was a ride Ryan Moore might want back. They're both going to be there or thereabouts, but I do like the way You Got To Me almost completely changed her run style there, and she managed to get the job done.
Good money for her that day as well. There was an expectation.
Hardy as well, because she's had 4 or 5 pretty tough workouts, keeps bouncing back. Content has very much a York pedigree. Her old girl, her damn Mecca's Angel, won their Nunthorpe not once but twice.
Yeah, good. Talking of good pedigrees, Mr. Astar's got one of them. She's out of Scirocco Star, who was placed in the Oaks, and sire was pretty good as well. He was called Frankel. Mr. Astar was behind Queen of the Pride 2 starts ago, and then she went and sluiced home at Newmarket. We can see that last time.
Yeah, this is a live long shot. I'm going to put her on top because I think Blue Stocking's absence leaves the door ajar for an improver, and I think she is an improver. She pulled too hard when she was behind Queen of the Pride, running well at Haydock a couple back. Here she got a bigger field, better gallop. They're only listed fillies, John, but they're pretty useful in-form listed fillies, and she makes them look fairly ordinary. Her dam, Scirocco Star, was a good filly who finished 4th in this race behind Sharita. I like this one's chances at a price, John.
Yeah, he could well be onto something given the way there are question marks about 1 or 2 at the top of the market. My slight concern about her, as it would be for any of the hold-up horses in this race, is there's not much pace at the moment from what we can see. Port Fairy might go forward, maybe Sea Theme as well, but it could get a bit tactical.
You're right to point out she's keen, isn't she? She has been keen. But she can also be placed in a group race having been keen for 1.5 miles. So there's talent there, and I know Hughie Morrison rates her very highly.
Yeah, John has onto something there. The pace is uncertain. Port Fairy might be the one. But either way, we're looking for a horse at a price, and she could be one.
So in a way, Blue Stocking opens it up. With that in mind, you've teased us who's on top. So what about the rest?
2, 5, 8, 3 for me here. Mistral Star, I think, is an improver. She needs to be to make a splash here, but I think she might be. 5 Content to reverse the form with 8 You Got To Me from the Curragh and 8 Queen of the Pride. Cue Emily up John, blossoming to win by 3.
Yes, that's not really what we want. Well, it'd be nice in some respects. She's a lovely horse, but she's not performing to the levels that she has in the past. So You Got To Me is going to go on top. The tongue tie helped her in Ireland as well. And it was just a really, really tremendous effort. Rafe Beckett was said it was a brave effort, and it certainly was. Content in for second. There's not much between them. Queen of the Pride in there for third. She's a bit tight in the market, but she'll run well. And dear old Emily, wherever you may find her, down at the bottom there, horse number 1.
I wanted to go with Graham, actually, Mistrust Star, but I have lent the way that I think Queen of the Pride is worth a go in a Group 1. I think if she's going to win one, I think it's probably this one. We'll see. Different opinions for the big race of the day. Race 4, which is the Yorkshire Oaks. Race 5, York, Thursday. Well, after the Yorkshire Oaks, if you like 2,400-metre fillies races, you can have another one. Because the 5th race is the Sir Henry Cecil Galtres Stakes, listed over that same course and distance as the Yorkshire Oaks, named after the late, great, legendary trainer. These are the runners, 11 of them. Davina Grace, Climate Friendly, down to Carmology, Scenic, Fairy Glen, Nakeel. See, just in time. How good is she? We'll find out, certainly according to the guys next to me, and whether they like her for Thursday. Let's talk about her first, Graham. She's long had a big reputation. Start 1 was brilliant. What about since then? This is start 3 at Kempton.
Well, she disappointed at Goodwood when she was sent off a very short price and she didn't look anything flash. This was a step back in the right direction, John. She was 2 to 5. It was all hands and heels as she gets the better of the 85 rated Beeley, giving that filly £7. But I think you'll agree with me when I say it's a price thing with this filly, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, she's far too short in terms of what she's done. She's got fancy entries. They clearly think a lot of her, but there's no evidence. That horse Beeley was beaten much more comprehensively by a horse called Fairy Glen, who I haven't even got in the numbers. So it gives you an idea. The market is more open, or it's not as open as it should be.
That's the thing. If you're going to, it's taken on trust that it's what we haven't seen, but then you're going to be backing a favourite on what we haven't seen. Certainly not to my mind. Davina Grace won the Chalice Stakes last time. John, she's well worth a crack at this now.
She certainly is, and in this race she was probably in the wrong part of it given the way it all sort of worked out, but she got a good start. She got into that prominent position and she boxed on really well, and she's done that quite a bit of late too. The trip is absolutely fine. Gate 2 as well, she'll go nicely. She's a decent price. Only one 4-year-old in the last 10 years has won this race, though, great.
But the Whirlpool stat of the day, 12 of the last 13 renewals won by 3-year-olds. Draw your eye to that filly second left in the striped jacket. This Fairy Glen was never really going well, and then at the line she's suddenly starting to stay on. I just have a feeling she wasn't quite right on this day, but she still finished quite close up, and the 3-year-olds have a great record. She trounced Beeley, as John has already touched on. So of this lot, I think that Fairy Glen might be one to keep an eye on. Don't forget, Davina Grace is hardy, banging form, but in winning this race she picked up a £4 penalty, and that's not ideal.
No, it's fair to say that the only 4-year-old to win it was trained by Jess Carrington, and she's got a 4-year-old in this, so that might be the chance sat in. We're not going to be talking about her. We are going to be talking about Carmology, though, Graham, and her recent track run where they were all cut down by the filly on the far side, Verbier, who returned to form.
Yeah, there are a handful of fillies by Golden Horn. Golden Horn, strong stayer, gets late maturing types. Here's another Carmology, now rated 93, a little below the best of these. But she's in really good form. Second in a York listed race, every chance over 1.25 miles. Likely to run a race, and likely, I think, to find maybe 1-2 too good, John?
Yeah, I mean, not only in breeding, but the way she runs here, finding the line over the 10.5 furlong, suggesting that the 1.5 miles will be absolutely right up her street. Gate 3, she's got a nice draw. She doesn't make her way into my numbers, but that's because, for me, it's a very open race.
Well, OK, so what do we make, John, of this noisy Jazz, who's had one run, 25 to 1 for this debut, so little, if anything, was expected, certainly according to the betting market. She's thumped her rivals, who are, albeit a little bit limited, but this was over 1,600 metres, so she's now up 800 in trip and in class. Terrific
gate speed here. She's a half-sister to Big Orange. So she's clearly got the breeding to go well for the quite big step up in trip here. Stall 1, I mean, she's a big unknown quantity, but she really could be anything. And I'm going to put her on top for that reason. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. And she lacks experience compared to some of these, but she's very promising.
She bolted up, and she swaps one current Hong Kong jockey, Harry Bentley, for a former Hong Kong jockey, Sylvester de Souza this time, and she could relish the trip and run a big race. She is the X factor and non-quantity in here.
Connection's got another one as well in the form of the 94 rated Climate Friendly. So maybe that's on a line of where they see Noisy Jazz. Right, the 1, 2, 3, 4 in a funny looking open race anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit of a speculator, this. It's a wide open, or it should be a wide open market. I think 8 Fairy Glen has each way potential. She is useful. I think she's better than she showed last time. And she's a 3-year-old, which tends to help in this race. 8, 5, 11, 1 with Fairy Glen on top.
Yeah, I've slung in a few 3-year-olds here, as history suggests we should. I've put Noisy Jazz on top. She really is very promising, if nothing else. Be fascinated to see how she runs. Davina Grace is a thoroughly commendable horse, and she should go well from a nice draw. C just in time. Well, she goes in. We'll have to wait and see whether she's worth the price she'll be. And Nakil ran very well at Newmarket, despite a rather bad run round the turn where she was nudged out sort of 3 or 4 horse widths, stayed on very well. She's a progressive 3-year-old too, and she can run well. But it's a much more open race than the market suggests, and what the Whirlpool does will be fascinating as well.
Okay, you think 9 can run well? I think she can run very well. Nakil on top for me, the daughter of Tabawi, to continue the excellent run of 3-year-olds in the Goltries. Working our way towards the back end of the card, this is race 6. We're back to the 2-year-olds as well. This is a Nursery over 1,400 metres, 17 declared. And that will be their course map. Right, headed up by Godolphin's Age of Gold, twice raced, William Buick, Charlie Appleby. Spellmaster we'll be talking about shortly, so too Original Outlaw, Sigolazzo, another for the owners who like that footballing theme. King of Angels. And over the page, you've got JV, Kasim we'll be talking about, Miss Hathaway, Tuscan Point. Let's talk about a very close finish. In fact, a finish, Graham, that couldn't be deciphered between the first and the first. It was Hot Shot and Spellmaster who we're going to be focusing on at Goodwood.
Yeah, let's pick them up at Goodwood in what looked a decent maiden contest, and Spellmaster seems to be getting better with experience. He travelled quite kindly into this race. He battled on well until joined by the joint winner, Hot Shot, on the line. And I think that's form that gives him a pretty solid chance. But I'm working around a bit of trainer form as well here, gents. This race is only 4 years old in the Ebor Festival, and Andrew Balding has won 2 of them. So he seems to have a fine touch in a race like this.
Yeah, and he's firing in the numbers as well in terms of winners. It was a good race at Goodwood. A slight concern about this one, I've got her in the numbers, but a slight concern is close to the pace on that occasion. There's quite a lot of pace engaged here in this spot as well, so I'm going for more of a closer on top, but I think she'll go well.
OK, Spellmaster up against Hot Shot, who Richard Hughes declares is one of his best horses. We'll see, so it's potentially good form. Right, more Goodwood form. Original Outlaw is the one we're going to be focusing on, just defeated by Mr. Chaplin. A couple of others in here as well, John.
Yeah, if you like Goodwood form, this is the place to be. Ran well at Salisbury prior to that as well, a race which hasn't worked out brilliantly but has worked out pretty well. Here did get a nice sort of ideal Goodwood style run round. The cutaway helped as well, but it was still a good effort. Mr. Chaplin has come from a different part of Sussex to pick Original Outlaw up in the closing stages. Gate 10, maybe a little bit tricky on the dog leg, 7 furlongs here, but should go well.
Gets nailed by his stablemate, Mr. Chaplin. Yeah. Key point here, I think, for Original Outlaw, he had blinkers for the first time. They really helped. He's got them on again. I think that form's good enough to give him a place chance.
Graham, let's have a look at Kasim for Carl Burke, another 2-year-old for him, winning at Haydock last time. My view is, and I'm sure you'll echo it, needs looking forward to another furlong. 1,400 should be absolutely fine on Thursday.
I think so, but on the flip side of that coin, as you can see, it wasn't a big field, half a dozen runners. He won by a short head, pretty much all out, John. A £4 rise in what looks a deeper race could be problematic.
I think so. I did like the attitude here. It was good early speed and then obviously got a bit outpaced when the taps were turned on, but has battled really well, stuck the neck out well to the line. I've got this one in the numbers, not on top, but I think he'll go nicely. OK, it's a Nursery. It's still very early doors with these horses, particularly in handicapping terms. Graham, who are you going for?
Yeah, I hope we've seen the winner in our video montage there, and I hope it's number 2, Spellmaster, who's progressive and comes from a barn who've won this race twice in its 4 renewals. 4, Original Outlaw, already has that solid handicap form. 1, Age of Gold, didn't really fire at Royal Ascot, but he looked pretty good first time out. And 7, Sigolazzo, who showed a nice, willing attitude to win at Chester last time.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Age of Gold at the top of the handicap here, top weighted in a Nursery. It might be a bit of an old cliche, but I think it was beaten a long way by Bedtime Story, but they all were in the Chesham. We're staying on eye-catchingly well as well, so that was a good effort, and here at Nursery level can go very well.
Been gelded as well since
it has, yeah. Temerity not to have performed in front of our cameras, but there we go. Kasim in there for second, Original Outlaw in for third, and Spellmaster for fourth. So similar sorts of numbers myself and Graham are coalescing around. I'm going to go with the Godolphin horse on top, Nick.
I'm going to go for the Progressive Art Market, horse number 13. Take a chance on in the Nursery race 6 with 1 to follow. Last race of the day on Thursday, second of the Whirlpool Days and second of the Ebor Festival as well, is the 520 run locally, which is a fillies handicap, heritage handicap, class 2 race, over 1,400 metres. Field headed by 9/10. Pinafore is there. She's back to try and win at the Ebor meeting this time around. Didn't last year. Blinkers on for the first time. Arasaig, Queen of Mougin. Misinformation. There's a couple of the select runners. Big field. Alpha Kellenic will be coming to you very shortly indeed. Sunfall, Rock Melody, Queen's Reign, and down to Aquacel under Jimmy Quinn, veteran of the weighing room. Right, Alpha Kellenic. Let's have a look at Air. Graham, this filly just keeps on winning.
Fantastic romantic story for local trainer Craig Lidster. She rattled up 4-timer, I think, when she won at York. She bounded clear over 6. And this time out, she'd been hiked in the weights, John, and against older horses, she got it done in gritty style, up by a furlong. I think she'll stay it. Question is, has the handicapper, or is the handicapper beginning to get a little grip on her now?
Possibly, but she only went up £3 for this. She did very well to only win it by a very small margin.
Yes.
And I think she might still be able to handle that. That was interesting as well. She was ridden a bit more conservatively there, and it worked. Be a strong gallop here as well. She's not quite on top, but she'll be there or thereabouts.
Significant drift that day, but she still won. Right, let's have a look at some Goodwood form. Not the first time across the 2 days we're going to be saying that. Arasaig coming out on top, John.
Yeah, Arasaig has been a really tremendous servant for the Johnson Yard. Ran a terrific race in the Sandringham Handicap, wrong part of the track. Then didn't quite manage to hit the board at Newmarket, but here, un-Goodwood-like run, obviously from a long way off the speed, but Spencer knew what he was doing, reeled in the early speed here, and I think from stall 12 and a strong run race, she'll be picking her way through again.
Big field, good gallop is ideal for her. Late swooping is what she does best. I would just add the rider that she's up £6 for a pretty much an all-out win. I think she needs to progress again if she's to win.
Let's have a look and get Graham's thoughts, as well as John as well, on Newmarket back on the 19th of July. The best of the finishers, Queen of Mougin, and this was behind 2 fillies who had not much between them. Star of Lady M, who's actually going to run on day 1 of the York Ebor Festival. Queen of Mougin in 3rd.
Yeah, here's another filly, Queen of Mougin, who is making a 7-furlong debut. She was 3rd behind Alpha Kellenic over 6 furlongs at York. 3rd again over 6. She rallied, John. She does look like she's ready for 7 now, but she might be a little more exposed than 1 or 2.
Yeah, but I really like the way she found the line here. Really tried very hard. Good gate speed, got out pace, stayed on strongly. 7 furlongs will be ideal. She's in my numbers, if not quite on top.
Should we go exotic and bring in a bit of Irish form? Why not? Ragnar winning at the Galway Festival, which we talked about Goodwood plenty. Just for context, it's run the same week as Goodwood, John.
We have a slightly moody midweek weather forecast for York, and I think if it rains and rains pretty hard, that would suit Ragnar, who was on the speed right from the start in this listed race at Galway. She wasn't fancied, 16-1. She led and battled on gamely. If it rains, chance. If it doesn't, I wouldn't be fancying Ragnar.
Yeah, Galway and York, very different test. There's a lot of speed in this race. She got a bit of an easy lead that day on soft ground, but she could do no more than win.
OK, just the 18 declared for the last race. Some of these fillies might be lurking, some of them looking to recapture the form. How do you play the last race, Graham?
This could be a Whirlpool first, in that I've got 4 fillies here, and we haven't mentioned any of them so far. So here is the summary. Kita Kotai is a super consistent progressive hold-up filly who was a bit unlucky last time. She's on top of her old rival, 15 Rock Melody, who's tiny. Her jockey, Amy Waff, is even tinier, but she won really impressively at Hamilton last time. 3 Elim has got good form in listed company at Pontefract. Showed a hand to the handicapper, but I think she's still fairly treated. And 9 Misinformation, who ran well from a wide draw. Anyone's race this, but 5, 15, 3 and 9 should give us a bit of fun.
RSA to be played late by Jamie Spencer as she was at Goodwood, and this track should suit her slightly better. It is still a bit of a speed track, York, but not as much as Goodwood. Queen of Mougin, who knows? My French qualifications don't know enough to, or aren't good enough to contradict the lads either side of me, but she goes in for second. Alpha Kellenic in there for third. Misinformation, yeah, she was stepped up quite highly in class to run at Goodwood last time, and it was a good effort. She was slightly inconvenienced by the way the race went, and she can go well again.
And just for what it's worth, I'm going to go for Pinafore back into a handicap. 1400 metre handicap is what she wants, and that's exactly what she gets. Blinkers on for the first time. Ryan Moore, William Haggis, that will do for me. Gents, thank you very much indeed. That was fun.
Thank you.
Race 2 all done and dusted. Oh, Race 2, Day 2 all done and dusted. Lots to look forward to. Graham, John, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy Day 2 of the Ebor Festival, a big World Pool Day at York.